Okay, hi. What have I done this week? Oh, this week I went to my first ever hockey game. I went to see Canucks versus LA Kings. Oh my god. Wow. That was a lot of fun. That's probably the highlight of the week, actually. It's my first hockey game ever. The energy is amazing. It's incredible. The atmosphere is crazy. This week has been very, very long, but that was something to like look forward to. I didn't know anything about hockey before, but like my boyfriend is really into hockey, so that's why like he just got me into hockey ever since. So it's also a Friday evening, and Friday evenings are undoubtedly my favorite time of the entire week. It's got to be the pinnacle of enjoyment and happiness for me. Have ended the work week. I don't have to think about work for the next like 2.5 days. You have the whole weekend ahead of you. You have Saturday, so you can do whatever you want on Friday night. Sunday, you got the Sunday scaries, it's like the day before you start the whole work week again. And Saturday is pretty sweet. You have the whole day to yourself. And Friday evening is just chef's kiss. I don't know why I just rambled so much about Friday evenings. Anyways, today I want to talk about my two favorite things in the entire world. One, podcasts. Two, the gym. I religiously listen to podcasts when I go to the gym. I think gym time is such a sacred time for me to like work on myself. I think of gym time as me versus me, if that makes sense. Pushing my physical boundaries and becoming stronger and lifting heavier and such like a top tier form of like self improvement. And what better way to also get that form of self improvement than in the form of podcasts? And I think my podcast phase started when during the pandemic, actually in 2020. And my gateway to being a podcast girly was the Emma Chamberlain podcast. Anything Goes with Emma Chamberlain, which is one of my favorite podcasts. Was when I discovered the podcast medium. As a person who's really into self development and self improvement, I have a deep appreciation and love for intellectual stimulation and to people sharing their stories. Like, I learn so much. Like I always learn so much from podcasts. And that's why I'm so motivated to like want to start my own podcast. Listening to podcasts at the gym like really gives me a sense of like immense motivation to like push myself harder, and it really drowns out the noise in my head. If that makes sense. Like it kind of silences the noises in my head almost because I am indulging in someone else's stories, and it makes me forget about my own life and problems. Different when I listen to music because music is more like it's more about the upbeat sort of energy that gives you motivation to like work out. And I guess with me, what I find is when I listen to podcasts, it is so grounding, and I find myself more in tune with how I'm moving my body and like how I'm working out, like the movement of my body whilst being like mentally and intellectually stimulated, like gives me a lot of perspective. Some of my favorite podcasts I'm listening to religiously recently, it has been The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. I think he is brilliant, amazing podcaster, and amazing conversations with such incredible people. Like the people that like the guests that he has on his show is just top notch. And I literally listened to his latest ones thus far, and I look forward to every single one of his like podcast episodes on YouTube and Spotify. All of my most favorite podcast thus far that I've listened to is Conversation with Mr. Jordan Peterson on how to become the person you've always wanted to be, and it's on The Diary of a CEO. If I can recommend any podcast for anybody to just listen to, it would be this podcast episode with Jordan Peterson. Because first of all, Mr. Jordan Peterson is the man himself, right? Just like the sheer wisdom that this man has is impeccable. And whenever I'm feeling like shit, I would probably listen to a Jordan Peterson podcast because it gives me so much perspective and he speaks so truthfully and authentically, unapologetically, that it inspires me so freaking much. So I will leave a link to that podcast below if you want to give that podcast episode a listen. But yes, if you take anything from this video, just go listen to that podcast episode. Some of my other favorite episodes have to be I really enjoy Huberman Lab on Purpose with Jay Shetty. Anything Goes with Emma Chamberlain, obviously, just because it's holds such like sentimental value for me. And I think her recent approach with like having guests on her show, it's a fresh change. I think it's very different from her normal, just usual like her talking to herself on different topics. I'm really enjoying it. The one I've been enjoying is What Now with Trevor Noah, which I guess is like a newer sort of podcast, but I've always been a fan of Trevor Noah and I think he's really funny and so smart. I feel like the gym for me, it's not just like a place for me to like sweat out my stresses and stuff like that. And podcasts are definitely a form of helping me escape, even though that sounds like so dramatic and intense. Like, why do you need to like escape from real life? Like, is that terrible? But you know what? Yeah, like sometimes it does feel like that. And that's okay because I feel like constant grind of like corporate life is just sometimes it's just so much. It's just so much. It's very overwhelming. And I know that, having a job is a privilege. I am fully aware and I'm very, very grateful. It's just how I feel about, the whole 9 to 5 corporate life working experience for me thus far. Ever since I graduated has left me so, I guess, jaded and disillusioned with like the whole corporate life in general. Maybe it's my bad experiences with some of the jobs that I've had, but I can't help but like think that like the idea of like trading time for money and working for somebody else. I think people nowadays they are just living for the weekends basically. I think we in this generation are just grinding so hard Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 every day, having barely any time for ourselves after work and feeling so drained and tired and then having to get enough sleep to be able to like wake up and do that all over again for 5 days straight and then just we're basically just living for the weekends, for the 2.5 days that we have to just, live our lives and do our own things. And I'm just like, is that really how we are programmed to live? I don't think so. I think that's what society has like created this idea and image of like that's how life should be like and that's how we should all live. It's just working and contributing to the economy until we're like 65 and die. What do we what do we have to show for the endless countless hours working in the office? I heard a quote saying if you don't build your dreams someone will hire you to build theirs, and that quote stuck with me so much and it resonated so hard because I felt the same sentiment and I've been feeling it for past few months like intensely. I feel like the most valuable resource that we ever have is time. It's time, and time is something that we can never get back. Like we can earn money, but we can never get back our time. What are we doing to like spend our time more mindfully and consciously? I mean, I'm 25, I'm turning 26 this year, and I'm like halfway through my 20s now, which is crazy to think about. And like sometimes like it's terrifies me, but it also reminds me of like if I don't follow my dreams and passions now, then when? Like I will never get this time back. And I keep telling myself that I'm not ready, that I'm not good enough at this or at that, or I, need this equipment to like start filming, or I need this, like microphone to like be like super professional, or like I need lighting, I need camera, like all of these things. But the truth is like you don't need all that stuff. Like to film a YouTube video, you just need a phone and an internet connection, which most of us have. And if that's what you want to do, then you can literally start right now. I mean that as in like there is no right or wrong time to start doing anything. There's only now. Like, there's only this moment. Starting is the most difficult part. I feel like sometimes we are so hard on ourselves and, so self critical, and we think that we have to be perfect at something, or like to be great or good at something to start. But the truth is, like, you don't need to be all of these things to start. There's no such thing as perfection. There's no such thing as being ready, because we're never truly ready. You just got to throw yourself in whatever, thing that you want to do, like, head first, and go from there. I mean, we're all flawed human beings, right? And we all just want to be seen and loved and understood. So I'm working on that myself, and I am still working on it, and just trying to, I guess, not care so much about what other people think. I think that's like such a huge point. I think the majority of why we fear starting something is we fear rejection, we fear failure, we fear that we are not good enough, we fear that other people might judge us, we fear that other people will think that we are cringy, and that will think that we are embarrassing, and that they won't accept you. And so basically we just put so much weight into other people's opinions of us. And for what? Because the truth is that, like, no one truly cares about you that much, or no one really cares about you that much. Because if you think that, then you will never start. And I know that that's what has been holding me back too. And time is flying by so fast, and I've been struck by this realization that I'm just gonna pass me by, and if I don't, act now, then I'll never act. And I don't want to look back like 20 years from now asking what if. I cannot stress enough the realization that time is our most valuable asset, and we can use that to our advantage anytime. And I know that it's easier said than done, because, like, and just like quit your job and work on your dreams and side hustles or whatever, because obviously if that takes money and time and capital, and like, some people they just need to put food on the table. I don't think I want to climb the corporate ladder. I used to think I wanted to, but now I don't think I want that. Like, I just want to have a job that allows me to learn and to grow and be creatively challenged. A paycheck, a stable income to afford my living, but also balance for me to have a life and to have the time to build my dream. The fact that I'm starting is enough for me to keep going. And once you start, you will have momentum to keep going. And I don't have to, like, worry about regretting, not doing something when I'm young, when I'm in my 20s, which is a time that I'll never get back, which is when I have my youth and my health and energy, and not having, like, family responsibilities or being tied down by anything, really. So, anyways, I know this is such a ramble. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk. I appreciate you listening. Stay hydrated, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.